Most traffic stops take longer than they should, and it usually has nothing to do with what you did on the road. It comes down to what happens after the lights turn on. I see this every day as a criminal lawyer. Drivers talk too much. They answer questions that go nowhere. The stop drifts, time stretches, and pressure builds. That's where things change. In this video, I'll show you 5 clear, lawful habits that keep a traffic stop focused and short and no attitude. No confrontation. No tricks. Because when you understand how stops actually work, everything feels different. The quick finish line. When you're pulled over, the contact has one purpose: the traffic issue that brought the officer's attention in the first place. Traffic stops are legal detentions based on observed violations, and the law requires the officer to investigate that issue with reasonable justification. Stretching the stop into a long conversation about your trip, plans, or personal life distracts from the lawful purpose and extends the interaction beyond what the law allows. Most drivers don't realize how quickly a stop can shift. An officer might start with the reason you were signaled, but a few extra details from you open the door to extra questions. You answer one, then another, and before you know it, the stop has doubled or tripled in time. Longer stops mean more chances for confusion, misunderstandings, and moments that could affect your legal position later. The key to controlling this is to bring the focus back to what matters. Here's a simple sentence that accomplishes that. "Officer, what do you need from me to finish the stop?" That line steers the conversation back to the traffic violation without confrontation or refusal. It's direct but respectful, and it keeps the interaction anchored on the issue that legally permits the stop in the first place. The law around traffic stops makes clear that police can only detain you as long as is reasonably necessary to handle the traffic matter that justified the stop. Prolonged questioning or unrelated topics don't have independent legal grounding and can turn a brief stop into an extended detention. Your delivery here matters. Say the line in a calm, steady voice after you've handed over your documents. You're not rejecting cooperation or challenging authority. You're signaling that you understand the scope of the stop and want to stay within it. Officers are trained to observe behavior and tone as much as words. Calm and clarity frequently result in smoother, quicker interactions. This approach also protects your rights. By narrowing the interaction to the essential tasks, checking your license, registration, and insurance, and resolving the traffic issue, you reduce the amount of information that could be misinterpreted or used to justify additional steps. Every extra detail you volunteer can extend the stop with follow-up questions that take time and create uncertainty. When you use the quick finish line effectively, you give the officer a clear signal that you are willing to cooperate within the lawful scope of the stop. This often leads to the officer returning to the task at hand, completing what they need to do, and closing the stop sooner. That's the practical benefit of focusing on the traffic issue and keeping the rest of the conversation controlled and concise. The same answer trick. Traffic stops often grow longer because questions multiply. One question leads to another, then another, until the stop shifts far beyond the original reason. Officers ask these questions to gather information, observe reactions, and test consistency. Every extra answer adds material that can extend the stop and increase scrutiny, even when the situation began as a simple traffic issue. Here is the key idea. You control how much information enters the conversation. Silence, used correctly, brings structure. The same answer trick relies on calm repetition rather than explanations. When an officer asks questions unrelated to the traffic issue, you respond with one clear sentence and repeat it every time, using the same words and tone. The sentence is simple: "I do not want to answer questions." This statement stays lawful and respectful. It avoids excuses, stories, or emotional reactions. It places a clear boundary around the conversation. Officers hear many versions of refusal, but consistency signals that the boundary will stay in place. Many drivers believe explanations help. In practice, explanations create openings. One detail leads to follow-up questions. One unclear answer invites clarification. Clarification takes time. Time increases pressure. Pressure leads to mistakes. The same answer trick removes all of that by offering nothing new to explore. Here's why repetition matters. Officers expect resistance to fade after the first refusal. When the same response appears again with the same calm tone, they understand that further questioning will produce no additional information. At that point, Continuing the questions serves no practical purpose, so attention returns to the traffic task. Tone plays a major role here. Calm delivery signals confidence and control. Raised voices, sarcasm, or defensive language escalate situations. The same answer trick works because it stays neutral. You speak slowly, clearly, and without emotion. That approach keeps the interaction professional and predictable. This method also aligns with well-established legal rights. Drivers retain the right to remain silent during traffic stops beyond providing required identification and documents. Exercising that right through a clear, repeated statement reduces risk and keeps the encounter focused. The American Civil Liberties Union explains this principle clearly for drivers interacting with police. Another benefit involves perception. Officers assess behavior constantly. Rambling suggests uncertainty. Changing answers suggest inconsistency. Repetition suggests preparation. Preparation signals awareness. Awareness often shortens encounters because the officer understands that the conversation will stay limited to the lawful scope of the stop. Use this technique after documents are provided and questions drift away from the traffic issue. Say the line once, pause, and repeat it if needed. Avoid adding words. Avoid explanations. Let the silence do the work. Silence paired with consistency moves the stop forward. The same answer trick keeps conversations narrow, protects your position, and reduces time spent on the roadside. It relies on clarity rather than confrontation. When used correctly, it brings the stop back to its intended purpose and helps it reach an endpoint sooner. Why is it taking so long? Another thing that matters during a traffic stop is time. Once documents are handed over, the clock begins to carry legal weight. A stop may last long enough to address the traffic issue, check records, and reach a decision. When time stretches without explanation, attention and risk increase. Waiting silently often signals acceptance of delay, even when delay lacks clear purpose. Many drivers believe silence equals safety. In reality, silence without awareness allows a stop to drift. Minutes pass. Uncertainty grows. Questions form in your mind while the process stalls. At that point, a calm request for clarity can move things forward and restore structure to the interaction. The line that matters here is simple. Officer, what is causing the delay? This question stays respectful and direct. It asks for information rather than arguing. It places gentle pressure on the officer to explain the reason for the continued detention and to assess whether the stop still aligns with its original purpose. This works because traffic stops carry time limits tied to purpose. Officers may verify identification, run database checks, and address the violation. Activities beyond that scope require specific reasons. When you ask about delay, you prompt a mental checklist. Purpose, time, justification. That reflection often leads toward wrapping things up. Tone plays a critical role. Use a steady voice and neutral expression. Avoid frustration or impatience. Calm curiosity signals awareness rather than resistance. Officers tend to respond better when they sense professionalism rather than emotion, and that response often speeds the process. This question also shifts perception. It shows you are paying attention to time and process. Awareness influences behavior. Officers know prolonged stops require justification, so many respond by explaining the delay or concluding the stop once the required steps are complete. The risk of long waits goes beyond inconvenience. Extended stops create opportunity for additional questioning or observation. That opportunity increases exposure without benefit. Asking about the delay limits that exposure by narrowing the focus back to lawful tasks and timelines. Use this technique after a reasonable amount of time has passed. Allow initial checks to occur. Then ask once, calmly, and wait. Avoid repeating the question or adding commentary. One clear request often produces movement. Legal standards support this approach. Courts recognize that traffic stops must remain reasonably brief and connected to their purpose. Prolonged detention without cause raises constitutional concerns. The United States Supreme Court addressed these limits in Rodriguez versus United States, a case frequently cited in traffic stop law. Asking why a stop is taking long restores structure without confrontation. Structure shortens encounters. Awareness keeps the process clean. When time stays tied to purpose, the stop reaches its conclusion sooner and with less stress. Walk away clean. The most misunderstood part of a traffic stop comes at the end. Relief sets in, tension drops, and drivers feel safe again. That moment carries the highest risk. Once documents return and the officer signals release, the legal detention ends. What happens next depends entirely on how you respond during those few seconds. Many drivers stay parked and keep talking. Small comments feel harmless. A joke, an explanation, a final question. Those words reopen the door. Conversation creates opportunity, and opportunity invites more questions. The stop that reached its endpoint suddenly gains new life, driven by information that never needed to surface. Here is the clean exit line. Thank you. I will leave now. Say it calmly. Say it clearly. Then leave without delay. This sentence acknowledges the officer, confirms understanding, and closes the interaction. Movement matters here. Remaining parked invites continued engagement. Driving away ends the exchange cleanly. This approach works because traffic stops operate on clear stages. Detention exists during investigation. Release ends that authority. After release, further interaction requires a new legal basis. Walking away clean prevents accidental creation of that basis through extra conversation or volunteer details. Tone again plays a role. Polite delivery shows respect. Direct action shows clarity. Officers recognize when a driver understands the moment of release. That recognition discourages further engagement because the legal boundary stands clear and visible. Another benefit involves protection. Words spoken after release carry higher risk than words spoken during the stop. Guard drops. Filters loosen. Statements made during relief can create confusion or invite follow-up. Ending the interaction immediately removes that risk entirely. Timing strengthens this tool. Act the moment documents return and release is given. Avoid hesitation. Avoid lingering eye contact. Acknowledge, exit, and move on. The sequence matters. Clean timing leads to clean outcomes. Legal guidance supports this practice. Once a traffic stop concludes, drivers may leave freely unless new cause arises. Courts treat continued detention without cause as unlawful. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration explains the importance of understanding release during traffic encounters. Walking away clean protects time, position, and peace of mind. It ends the stop where the law says it ends. Clarity at the finish line keeps everything before it from turning into something else. Outro. A traffic stop moves faster when you stay calm, focused, and deliberate. Every tip you learned here relies on clarity rather than confrontation. Short answers, clear boundaries, and clean timing protect your position and reduce exposure. These habits work because they align with how traffic stops function in real life. Use them consistently. Practice the language. Control the moment without raising tension. If this helped you understand traffic stops better, support the channel, like the video, subscribe for more clear legal guidance, and share this with someone who drives every day.